Welcome to the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemason while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian.
And I'm Russ.
Russ, yet another guest.
Yes.
And this particular guest is on the ascent to be the Potentate.
He is.
So introduce who we have so we can get into the skinny.
Yeah, because there's a lot of fun stuff we need to talk about. So today we have our brother, Richard Steele. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, have you ever watched an episode?
Yes, couple.
A couple? All right, that's good. So you kind of know what to expect, you think. Right?
Yeah.
And you're a little uneasy, as we talked about off camera. And I don't know why, because we are fine, upstanding citizens. We don't mess with people. We don't pull any gotchas or any illusions. Fair? Not fair? Okay, not fair. So, the first thing that we like to know, or what's more important on our podcast, we want to know more about the man and not just the Mason. So, Richard, tell us, who's Richard Steele?
Grew up in Hayesville, Kansas. Graduated from campus in '86. Met my future wife in '91. Got married to Trish in '95.
Valentine's Day.
We moved back to Wichita to have our daughter. She was born April 19th of 97.
Social Security number?
Yeah, I don't know that much.
Okay.
We got married in 96. Just went around doing things and just was living life, and somebody asked me to, what do you want out of life? And I was like, I just want to have a family, and that's where I ended up. I've been working at AT&T for...
I was like, wonder if he's independently wealthy, or what if he works?
Yeah, I've been at AT&T for almost 28 years.
Was it Ma Bell before?
No, we were Southwestern Bell Mobile Systems.
Okay.
And I've been through very different names of the company. We finally are AT&T.
What do you do for AT&T? This is fascinating. I know.
I'm a wireless technician. I go out, fix all the equipment that's in a cell site, program the cards, find out what's wrong, clean the fibers, do all this.
So if we have questionable cell service, can we give out your cell phone number to anyone if you can fix it for them?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay, probably not. So we just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, because I'm knocking on retirement's door, I think, at the end of the year.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, congrats.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Walk us through your Masonic journey.
Well, my brother-in-law invited me to a information thing. Went with that and ended up signing my petition to become a member at Albert Pike. That would have been 2012.
Rentner's year.
Doc was the master that year. Went through that. Went ahead and joined the shrine. Got semi, involved.
We'll talk about that, yeah.
And that's about it. I mean, that was a good time to come in.
And I believe, have you joined any other Masonic organizations?
Just recently?
Just in the...
Well, I was a member of the Past Masters Scottish Rite class this last February.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved it. That was fun. The pageantry part of the degrees and everything was very, very cool.
It's so beautiful, the pageantry of the Scottish Rite.
Yeah, it was.
Really
it was totally different than anything I had been through.
It is. That's a fair way. So that's a tease. So for those that are interested in appendant bodies, the Scottish Rite has the pageantry. We've talked about that a lot on here. So you got into the shrine and you got involved quickly. So what drew you to the shrine more than the Blue Lodge side?
I joined the shrine basically because I wanted to parade.
Yeah.
So I joined the NASCARs right out of the chute and really got involved, was doing with that and going to the parades, wearing the
Excuse me.
fez.
For those who don't know, the NASCARs in Wichita, it's a shrine parade unit, and they're in these little go-karts that are like mini replicas of NASCARs, and they go around the parades, and the NASCARs and the Yoshis, they can zip around, so that they're, I don't know that you're really competition, but they are very similar units as far as the makeup of the vehicles.
Yeah.
Right?
They're a go-kart. We just put a body on, they don't.
Yeah. Okay. So, you got in the NASCARs.
Did that, and it would have been Lonnie Nichols' year.
13.
There was a gentleman who played football out in Setanta, and he was in a bad, horrific football accident.
It was.
And was paralyzed from the neck down. And they brought him here to Wichita, and the hospital here said, there's not a whole lot we can do for you. And somebody from the shrine goes, well, hold my beer. Took him up to, I believe, Minnesota. And the last football game of their year, about 10 of us took a van out to Setanta. And I was just all new and everything. And I go out there, and these people were like, the whole town was there. And they just reached out and wrapped their arms around us. And they wouldn't let us pay for anything. They ended up giving us money from their chili feed they had that night. And the best part was watching a kid that was 12 weeks ago walk the football out to the refs and hand it to them. And on the way back, I got to sit with Lester Serlani, and
who is an unbelievable human. I love Lonnie.
That was my aha moment that kind of told me what Shriners were about.
That was your purpose. You're like, I get it now.
Yeah, so ever since then, I went and joined the Touchdowners, started volunteering at the Shrine Bowl, and 2017, Larry Wilson passed away, and Rocky appointed me to take his spot on the Shrine Bowl board of directors.
Rocky McWilliams, who's a past master of Midian Shrine in Wichita. And
after that, I took his place in 2019. I was president of the Shrine Bowl.
So let me freeze. So I don't want to say you got thrown in or you fell into the position, but I will say this. I would bet that as you kind of got into that position in an accelerated fashion, there was probably like, oh my gosh, are you sure you want to do it and all of that. I don't want to say there's naysayers or people are like thinking they're looking out, hey, do you think you should do this and that? But I would argue that it happened the way it should, because what you did for the Shrine Bowl, what you continue to do, I think has moved the needles, because there's been some rough times, there's been some stuff there's been some cleanup that's had to been made. Yeah. But I don't want to say naysayers, but the ones that I felt like that might have said, are you sure? I think that lit a fire, and you're like, you know what? I feel like you might be doubting me. I'm putting all these words in his mouth. You might be doubting me, but I'm going to show you. And not that that's how it happened. That's my story. But I think that the end result has been extremely positive for the Kansas Shrine Bowl.
I think you've had a huge impact.
Huge impact.
No, I don't think I've done anything special that any of the other 14 board members have done on our board. We all have a great common goal.
No doubt.
On that board. And our goal is to make as much money as we can for the hospital.
Right. And you guys are doing a damn good job, right?
Yeah, we're working it. We're turning the corner. We had another bump in the road, but we've got that going on. And we've got I think this is the strongest the Shrine Bowl's been in a few years.
So the Shrine Bowl for non-Shriners. So most states do a Shrine Bowl. They pick some star football players from around. They play a game, usually East versus West, probably North versus South in some states, and they have a football game. But in Kansas, have we expanded this now to wrestling?
Yeah, we did.
Crazy.
This will be our first event. We'll be coming up here shortly. the Kansas Wrestling Coaches Association reached out to us. We've been back and forth, and we're having our first All-Star Wrestling Classic coming up here in a couple weeks.
I think that's awesome too. Did you know this?
I did not.
Yes.
So, in the comments, I don't know if this is a good video or not. What if we did a video, Russ and I in a singlet wrestling?
Yeah, no.
No, absolutely not. That's disgusting.
Calm down there, buddy.
That's disgusting.
Tapping out on that.
Tapping out. I'm out. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so is it boys and girls
Yes,
wrestling?
sir. Yes, we've
Good
got
question.
Yeah.
2 sets of rosters. Boys, full rosters on the girls. We did have to kind of skew our boundary lines a little bit because some people backed out. So we got some people from the west side wrestling on the east side. But, you know, like a couple of years ago, our Shrine Bowl ended in a tie. But the real winners are the kids.
Right.
And this event, we think, it's going to take off.
Yeah.
Well, next year there's a senior out of Pratt that's a wrestler. His last name's Windsor. I want to lobby for the kid. I have no pull, but man, I'm going to lobby for the Windsor kid out of Pratt.
Make sure he signs up. Gets his name in there.
Well,
So,
yeah.
this is a non-serious question, but when's the last time you were in your little NASCAR and parading?
I haven't been in the NASCAR for...
Do you still own it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I sold that about 5 years ago.
Okay.
When I got on the Shrine Bowl board, I was president of the NASCARs and the Touchdowners at the same time. Was on the Shrine Bowl board, so I kind of took a step back on that, and
Makes sense.
yeah, it was.
Who bought it?
I sold it back to my unit because I
Okay.
didn't want my unit. I could have sold it out on the free market, but
Yeah, it's not
I
the
just
right
would
thing to
rather
do.
keep
I just
it.
assumed you sold it to a Midian Shrine or
Well, we
back
had
to
a
the
couple
unit.
that joined it. I don't know where it's at now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
What number was it?
I started out with number 55.
Okay.
That was David Reagan was driving that as a shrine
Oh, yeah, nice.
when I came in, and I kind of made it look like his car
Yeah.
as much as I could.
Nice. So, who tapped you? So, you're on the line at Midian to be the potentate, okay? And if everything goes on schedule, you're a few years out. You're about 3 years out, right?
26.
26, 2 years out, right? My math is not good. So, who tapped you for OG? And then, how was that conversation with your wife?
Let's reserve Mark Butterfield.
Shout out to Mark.
Asked me to dinner one time, and we met up and we went and talked, and you know, kind of went back and forth between Trish was with it, I wasn't with it, and then we kind of both came together and said, you know, if we're ever going to do it, we like everybody that's on the line with us.
It just made sense. The timing.
Yeah,
was right.
you know, and this was nothing that I ever wanted to do in my life.
Fair.
I did not want to do this. I had fun doing what I'm doing with the Shrine Bowl, but I don't know. I just see there's some disconnect that needs. I know I can't change the world, but I'm trying to make Midian a better place
You're gonna do
for
great.
everybody.
You're going to do great. You're liked. You're going to get people that support you.
So what does it look like? What do you want it to look like here in the future?
Magic wand. This is
Yeah.
almost your magic wand question.
You know, the magic wand would, the easy question is to say I'd like to have it, the membership numbers back up like they were, 10,000 people. Realistically, I know I can't do that.
Would you rather have 10,000 or 1,500 badasses?
I would have 1,500 people that are active and help, you know, move the needle. We got to have all
You
types
need
of
both.
people.
You need to pay the bills. So.
Yes, we have to have everybody because everybody that's in the shrine right now has a purpose. Everybody's doing something. But yeah, I would just like to see a lot more community involvement and not so much just like parades.
Right.
But, you know, like try and go like we used to do at the Thunder and go have a Midian Shrine night and have the jerseys and all that. But I know it costs money, and that's where the issues are at.
We promised that we wouldn't throw anything at you, but
we
this
lie.
This
We
is a
lie.
question that we've talked about before. So, Shriners are known as the guys that are out there parading.
Mm-hmm.
Has parading is there value in it today like it was in the past? Or is it time for Shriners to do other things within the community?
Oh, I love that question.
Parading gets the fez out to the community and lets the people see the fez. But I think we've kind of gotten away from going out into the community as far as like at Pike, for instance. You know, we used to have that Thanksgiving and Christmas feeding the homeless. I mean, that was, I took my daughter out of school to come to that.
We took our children, my oldest daughter and your daughter are within a year, or the same year?
Yeah.
Within a year.
Within a year.
And that, to me, I was so proud, and you're proud to say, hey, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And our kids, when it stopped, they missed it. And I don't want to say there was an uproar, but the Bird kids have strong personalities too. And it was like, that. Why wouldn't we do that? Like, hey, out of my control. This is crazy.
Well, my daughter made impact on me was when she sat there and, you know, she's sitting there rolling up the silverware before, and then when it happened, I kind of was like helping, and her face was just like, wow. You know, somebody bring in their baby in a stroller, and she just sitting here, and we got in the car, and she was just like, is this really what it's like, Dad?
Yep.
And I said, yeah. I said,
so
there's a lot of that.
Where our kids all went to the same school district, right? Yeah. And it's not in Wichita, it's a suburban school. So I don't want to say our kids were sheltered, but our kids were in an environment that's quite different than, I think, normal.
Inner cities.
They all graduated from the same high school.
No.
Not?
No,
okay.
South.
Oh, okay.
So, but same concept. So I think, I would argue this, every kid from this school district needs to go do that, because, you know, when you're rolling up in the parking lot in a BMW, you've got to disconnect in high school from reality. And I think for our kids, we couldn't have given them a better life lesson than maybe what we did. Is that fair?
That's fair. And I wouldn't say that's what drawn her. I mean, she always wanted to be a teacher.
Right. But she got to see it.
She's now a teacher at Wichita Public Schools, at one of the rougher schools, as a special needs teacher.
Special needs, right.
And she loves this. I mean, she's
wired for
she
it,
is
though.
she lived with me, so
right. She was prepped.
But
so.
To get back, I mean, we need to go out and pound the drum on Shriners.
Yep.
And Masons for that. I mean, you know, I'm trying to find out how we can get the new cancer screening mobile come to the Shrine Bowl. It needs to come to the Wichita baseball team. Have it sit out in the parking lot.
If you only knew somebody on the Kansas Masonic Foundation.
If only you did.
And park it out there before a game. Yeah. And let the people come in and see what Masons have a cancer screening in the middle of the summer.
That's pretty basic, but genius.
And have it a little information tent, you know, right there. I mean, we've got these things at our disposal, and we can't rely on this is the way we've always done it. And I really 100%. Enjoy that Imperial Sir Jeff Souter is our membership, and he's trying to push the needle. Like you two pushed the needle a couple of years ago, and when you were membership chair when I came in. We got to keep that needle moving. We can't be saying this is the way it's always been done.
Right.
But
you have to have strong enough personalities in that says, I'm not here to listen to you. I'm here to do something different.
And I'm hoping, I would like to see our membership get up to 1,500. That would be a nice goal to have by the end of 26.
Back up to 1,500,
because, you know, we're about ready to drop under 1,000, and that's...
Well, that's bad for some voting issues. We won't go and get into the weeds with that for sure.
So, with that being said, we have new Shriners, Masons out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there somebody out there that just, you know, new within a year or two within the shrine that impresses you?
Who's the next guy? Who's the next big guy?
Guy that impresses you?
You know, I've seen a couple. There's a couple of guys from Pike,
Matt
Cook.
Go through Pike.
He's
a bad
boy. He's getting there. He's moving around.
He's that quiet leader, isn't he?
He's a silent assassin.
I love it. Yeah,
he's got his wife or his significant other.
Yeah,
she's
also
Katie
badass.
She's
awesome.
Her and Trish are starting to get together, and that's a little dangerous. But
I like it.
they like.
She's awesome.
So yeah, you got Matt, and then there's even some people that have been at the shrine for years that I think would be great leaders. They just, they have a family and they can't do things when your kids are young. I understand that, but
there are some that
I
don't have kids at home and have a engaged girlfriend, and that they could probably do some stuff too.
Yeah. How you sitting at 27?
I don't have an engaged girlfriend. My wife would have a problem with that.
Maybe not. You say that.
That's true. My wife is Richard's shrine wife. There's a whole bit with that. Did you know there's that bit? So
there are so many bits I can't keep track.
So
Mr.
Trish at the time didn't like to go to concerts. Well, Heidi was his shrine wife for concerts. Is that fair? Am I telling the story?
That's fair. I mean, years ago, Brian was in charge of this, where there's a group called Rocket Kids that goes out and they sell CDs at these rock concerts. Brian did the Kid Rock one, and then somehow or another it got shifted to me, and I've been doing it ever since.
Anybody that knows me, I do something, I have an attention span disorder, and then I'm done.
You have the attention span of a gnat.
So does Russ, so that's why he's saying nothing.
And
I might have dumped him on some things. He
has totally not been waiting. Oh gosh,
you would love to do this, Brian.
He tricked me into something. I'm not going to go there, but I mean, I'm not going to even talk about where he tricked me and all that. But it's dead.
So anyway, like a little puppy dog.
Yeah, it is. It was, but it's a dead deal.
He was cute.
It's a dead deal. It's fine.
Trish didn't like Five Finger Death Punch, so Heidi would go with
the music or the action. Yeah.
We're talking music here.
Right. Here we go.
But yeah, so that's how Heidi, she, I'll call her and she'll come do it. And
well, fun fact, you guys were a few years apart, but they graduated from the same high school. Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay, you did. Okay, so there's a fun fact there. So Matt Cook is, his name gets mentioned a lot.
Yes.
Because he's a good one. He's a good one.
So
out there.
Don't disappoint us all, because
Matt, one of our bourbon brothers. Yeah, don't dismiss us.
One of the other guys, like I said, Devin Olson, and he's a shrine patient too.
He is.
So he gets what it's about, and that's what it's really. I mean, there's a lot of that going on right now that we don't know what it's about.
Yeah,
and. He gets the message. The building, when we were trying to sell the building, people are like,
don't go into that too much. We're gonna.
But it's just there's people like that I think would do a great job.
Yeah, they step up when they need to. So, since you've been a Shriner, not what you think in the past before you, but what potentate do you think moved the needle the most since you've been in?
The person I'm going to say moved the needle, not in a way that you guys are going to think, but I think Fred was the right person
for the COVID
year.
Okay.
Because he's a fun guy.
Yep.
And it was a bad situation we were faced with, and he didn't really dwell on it. He made, we had our own little mini CSSA up at Hartman Arena, and all the clubs and units came out and did their things. But, there's just been, Fred did a good job.
He was just bringing the fun in a bad
He was the right guy for the personality. The one thing I wish would have been different about Fred's year is, and I don't want to get dark, but God, I wish Ross could have been there for it.
Yes.
We all loved Ross, and we talk about Ross in other podcasts, but I wish he could have seen Fred.
That would have been
great.
Cool.
And every one of the potentates has done what needs to be done that year.
Right.
So as far as say moving the needle, I mean, to me, I think any year that we keep progressing forward, the needle was moved.
That's fair. It's a boring answer, but it's fair.
Sorry. I'm a boring person.
I know he's not boring. We like controversy.
Okay, so within Kansas Freemasonry, what does it look like in 10 years?
If we don't change the way we're thinking, it's going to be in a bad way. We need to go out and like I said earlier, and I know I've heard other people say it, get involved in the community and start bringing these people in.
Yeah.
And once we get them in, don't forget about them. And let them know that there is things that they can do. You know, the generation now, you hear, they're all about wanting to help and give back to communities and stuff like that. Those are the people we need in here.
Yeah.
The young kids are the ones that are going to be carrying us on.
So a couple of weeks ago, we released a podcast with Curtis Reedus, and you know Curtis Reedus, current master of pipe. He's an educator, and he gave us an interesting insight of, he works with high school students, and he made, I'm going to paraphrase, he said, I know the younger generation catches a lot of grief. However, these folks that are coming out, you're going to be surprised what they do to move the needle. And then we had the conversation, well, do we probably need to pivot to attract them? And the answer was, for sure. Yeah. So we need to pivot, right? Because what excites us, being roughly in the same generation, it doesn't excite our kids.
No.
Because our kids are the same age. Our daughters are the same age.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't do it for them. And so we need to pivot. And some people say, oh my God, you're going to bastardize the fraternity. But again, people said that when you went to ciphers and all the different things that you do. So
well, people said that when you didn't have to be a Scottish Rite Mason to join the shrine.
Great point. Great point.
If you're not evolving, you're dying. And that's what I'm afraid is happening.
Yeah.
The shrine hospitals will be there whether we're there or not.
Yeah.
But
we have
Masonry
too many.
as a
we
whole,
have too many. 22 is too many. I've had a conversation with some other people, but I won't mention the name. 4 or 5 or 6 is about what we need.
I think with that question right there, you said, where's it going to be like in 10 years? I think the hospital structure is going to be a lot different too, where you're going to start seeing more clinics.
Yeah.
Which is a great thing, especially down in Mexico.
Well, telemed is a thing, and it's improved so much.
Yes.
And COVID really desensitized us on some of that type of like, oh my gosh. A telemed, you can see a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Isn't Mexico and Central America really, truly a growth area as far as our patients?
Oh, yes.
Freemasonry in general.
Well, with all those open fire pits out there, it's a real problem.
Yeah.
Galveston, most of their patients come from Honduras and Ecuador, and a lot of them fall into open fire pits. Mm-hmm. Fun fact. It's
not a fun fact.
Yeah, it's not a fun. It's a fact. It's not fun.
But yeah.
So I want to talk about something. So you touched on it a little bit. So in the last year or so, we were pushing to sell our Shrine Center. Things didn't work out as fine. Just how stressful was that process to you, from your perspective?
I wasn't, as involved as other people were in that.
Sure.
But, I see the shrine, and I understand the people saying that that's our history.
Right.
But it won't be our history if we can't afford to keep the doors open.
Right.
And, we've got money and everything that we can use, but you can't keep going to the well.
Well, once you get into the principle, it's a problem.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And, it's like this year. Some expenses last year came up, and we didn't want to have to do them. That's kind of why we was selling the building, and now we have to eat that.
So we won't get into the economics, but Russ and I did a presentation at a kickoff meeting, and our Shrine Center, we pull some money out of LTI to kind of balance our budget each year. And Russ is, you guys have watched the podcast for a long time. He's a banker, and he kind of looks at me and he kind of does some math, and he's like, it's $76 a person a year. Why are we messing around with this? And without, you don't have to do long math here, but so Russ's point was, why are we even pulling from this when, guys, $76 a year, we're talking $8 a month. And I've said it 100 times, and I don't care who likes it. And we get some comments, oh my God, if you can't afford $8 a month, and that's Russ's phone, if you can't afford $8 a month, you shouldn't be in the fraternity. And Russ is just going to let it go. This is what he does. If you can't afford $8 a month, you shouldn't be in the fraternity. Is that fair? Before you have your comment.
So my daughter Bailey.
She always calls on the podcast. She
always calls, and she is the only person I call that answer pretty much every time. So
yes.
I have sent her.
We got to get Bailey on here as the one that just seems to know our schedule.
Basically, pretty much.
So. It should actually probably be an interesting interview.
She probably would be. To answer your question about we've got to get beyond truly as a Mason. It is an honor to be a Shriner, but not all Shriners can be Shriners at the time they want to be.
Right.
They need to not only earn it, but they have to be able to pay for it.
Right.
And that's the part where sometimes I see guys spending money where they shouldn't, and they should back up for a minute, raise their kids, and spend the money where it should be,
Yep.
and then move on. And it's okay to step back.
You get a lesson.
Because if you step back, you can always go forward. Or you can just sit where you're at and you can't afford a damn thing in your life.
So we're all given a lesson when you first become a Mason, your first degree,
Yes.
and it kind of reminds you of this. And I think sometimes we forget that. But me, because you're really, I'm about to step all over you a little bit because, there's fundraiser type things. Me, I would rather pay an extra $300 a year, write the damn check, and not do a damn fundraiser. The others, I know the fundraisers do stuff and they do awareness and all that, but I'd rather pay the $300 extra, whatever that number, insert number, and go do something different like you, and let's go help in the community here and do that. That's my point of view. It may be your point of view.
100%.
But again.
But if we go down that rabbit hole and do the assessment, it wouldn't help our overall numbers, because you're going to get the fraction of people that say, no, I'm not paying an assessment, no matter what it's for.
Right.
I'm not saying assessment.
Yeah,
I'm saying
raise the
you're
dues.
raising your dues.
Yeah, but you hear that, and it's a fine line you have to walk down.
It is. It's easy for us to armchair it. It really is.
100%.
But I can tell you, if we would have ever accepted some opportunities and been potentates by now, right? We would have raised the dues.
Yeah.
I'm speaking for us. We would have 100% raised them, but I would say it would have been a near unanimous yes, because we would have laid it out for a layman to understand. This is why we're going to do this, gentlemen, because we are men that want to be part of something bigger. And if this isn't right for you, step aside. We're ready to move forward. And I think that we could have articulated that message and had that buy-in, just because there's so many great things. And right before that I would do a massive dues increase, if it were me, I would rent a bunch of buses, drag everybody up to St. Louis to a hospital, and anybody that doesn't pay their dues after going to a hospital, they weren't in it for the right reason anyway. The hospitals that I've been to, there's no way that I could ever not be a Shriner after seeing and being involved. So that would be right before I did that. I would have the outward expense and take the gamble of bringing them all up there and say, go ahead and write the check now. That would be me. So,
yeah, but see,
I haven't soapboxed in a while. Sorry, boys.
The previous comments were those of Brian Bird.
This is not Richard. This is me.
I don't disagree, but we've got to. You've got to play this fine line.
It's a balancing act.
Do we want to, raise the dues $50, $100, and then lose 150 people? Because we're losing people now at a rate where we're losing some of our younger generation that came in, and they now have kids. And that was Russ too. That wasn't me. So we're losing, like the younger guys that have kids, they're not as involved as they were.
Right.
Luckily, some of them were lifetime members.
Right.
So we still have got them, but we're losing 2 at a time.
Yeah.
When it comes to participation, because you're losing your elderly generation, and then you're losing these guys. Hopefully, some of them will come back. That was Russ again. Once their kids are out, hopefully they do come back and get engaged. If I would have done this when my daughter was younger, with her sports and softball, I would have been the worst Shriner there is, because I would have paid my dues and maybe came once.
Right. You joined when you should have,
so
and you got involved.
There is a time.
There is a time and place, and your Masonic experiences do ebb and flow.
Right.
Yeah, they do.
That's different than
The way I see it, I get people look at me and say, well, you're not really a Mason because I don't go to all the meetings at the lodge meetings. Now, what I say to that,
Boys,
If you need mouth to mouth, you know what's going to happen?
I'm dead.
You're going to die.
That cherry was fully loaded. Sorry, boys. Keep going.
the way I think of my shrine career and my Mason career is I had X amount of years to be the fun party with the Shriners.
Right.
Go out, get involved in the football, do all that.
Right.
And it may sound bad or whatever, but Masonry will always be there for me when I'm done doing what I'm doing.
But it's Masonry's job, the Blue Lodge job, to entice you to come over. And they obviously haven't done it for you. And that, when people say, oh my God, he's not a good Mason because he doesn't come to Lodge, that's total bogus to me.
Right.
Because again, we all know we're a Mason here first. And to me, all the other stuff you do, the character of a man is what matters. And when people say that, I will challenge them all day, and I'll be a dick about it, because it's not a cool statement. You could be a Blue Lodge guy or a Shrine guy. I don't think that's derogatory because you spend kind of more time here, and sometimes that changes.
Yeah.
Right. We're kind of hybrid. I don't know. What would you call us now?
You were Shrine when I came in, and then you kind of, once you became Master, you kind of immersed yourself in that and got with the Grand Lodge and did that.
Yeah.
And then you came back and helped us during a bleak time, both of you, when we were our membership again. And there's the ebb and flows that you were speaking of.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Russ, I didn't know Russ was a Shriner for years.
Right.
But I knew he was a Mason.
Right.
And then he was at the Oasis one time, and I was like, wow, I didn't know you were a Shriner. He's wearing a fez.
Yeah. Had been there a long time.
Right.
But yeah, it's tough to do both.
Yeah, just to that point, I've had Shriners say, well, you're really not a Shriner. It's like, well, what do you mean I'm not a Shriner? I've paid my dues. I am active in certain situations at certain times, but I have a life, and my life is a portion of Masonry, a portion of the Scottish Rite, part of the Shrine. I am not doing this. I'm not spending my entire life devoted to the fraternity because I don't believe that's
You'll go crazy.
I do not believe that's a balanced life.
Well, we've both been challenged in different ways of like, well, we want you to do this. I can't believe you wouldn't want to do this. That's not for us, right? Yeah. Right now, no, it's been a little more crass like we are, but I'm just like, it's not for us right now.
But for me, like at the Shrine, the biggest people that don't think we're doing the right things, you see them when there's something important to be voted on or something like that. What I would like to see is all these people that say that we're not doing what's best interest for the Shrine.
Lead a committee.
Come down to the Shrine, help us out, come to the stated meetings and see why we're talking about what we have to do here to get here.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, disheartening when you go to a stated meeting and it's the same 25, 30 people every meeting.
Yep.
Well, and I'm sure that's the same way when you go to a Blue Lodge meeting. It's the same people that do that.
Yeah.
We got to get away from that.
You'll be Potentate
2026.
I would challenge you that I have not been to a Masonic meeting that I find no pleasure in more than a Shrine stated meeting. I see no purpose in it. So there's got to be a change, because in my mind, I've been a Shriner for a long time.
Right.
I'm one that if there is an important issue, and
we'll come and support.
We'll come and support it, because the leadership of the Shrine has the direction. So what do you want us to do? And I am there. But to just...
From the Shrine side,
it's
all the introductions they do at the front, I mean, our names are up on boards and we'll come and get medals. And I got to tell you, the minute I get one, that son of a gun is coming off me as fast as you've witnessed it before. We don't do stuff for accolades.
Yeah.
We do stuff because we want to support. But 20 minutes of all this introduction of this, that, and the other. It's, hey, stand up. Hey, want to recognize you. Sit down. Let's do a meeting, because that's just my opinion. And some people need that for their stroking of whatever they need stroked in their life. But that, to me, that doesn't move my internal barometer.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I get that.
Shrine and it shouldn't be for the Shriners have been there for 25 years.
Exactly right.
It should be education. It should be things that help new Shriners.
Yeah, why don't we do Shriners education? We do Masonic. Why is there not a cool education piece?
Because that's not the way we do it.
Yeah,
right.
That's not the way we do it.
Right. And, I mean, for me, so I think Ron Capps, who is our treasurer now, he's probably put the numbers up and really went through more than anybody else I've ever seen. Yeah. But if it were me, I would have a meeting 30 minutes before that to go through the financials, come in there, ask some questions, and do a deep dive so we don't have to go through it there. And then to say, hey, we've got a consent agenda on the financials. Here we go. Next, approved. Onto it. But if you want to do a deep dive, treat it like a board meeting, because essentially we're shareholders of the shrine, and let's treat it like a board meeting. And if you really want to get engaged, and then there's no shock for when we need to ask for $76 a year, there's no damn shock because we've laid it out. Where have you been?
So, Brian, I think it's fair for Richard that, one, we're running out of time.
Yep.
So let's get to the most important question of the night.
Of course.
But we need to have him back, because I think there's a lot of passion for the shrine. Yep. And I think you are coming into a time where we need to hear more of what you're thinking going forward, because 100%. It is an important thing for Midian and Shrinedom in Kansas. Yep. That guys like you are running it.
Well, thank you.
Let's do that.
So now the most important question of the podcast, dancing girl, here we go. So 4 things are up on the screen and you'll be able to see. One of them has to go forever. And I know this is the one you think you got it. So up on the screen, you got a Harley. You've got the touchdowners. You got masonry, and you've got facial hair. You can never have facial hair in your face forever. You can never be a Mason. You can never work with the touchdowners, or you can never, ever have ridden a Harley again. What has to go forever?
That's easy.
What?
I can live without the facial hair.
No, like nothing. Bare.
I could do that.
Oh, I guess
this just hides the ugly mug. This is a cover-up. Women use makeup. I use this.
Fair. The only person that doesn't have to do it is that guy over there. I've got to cover my whole face. He's just got to cover a little bit of it.
Well, I can't grow anything past here because it's really spotty.
Well, on behalf of old sexy Russ over there, thanks for joining the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate it
Cheers.
very much.
Thank you.